Hey guys, it's David Pingree for Upshift Online. We're out here today testing a really cool project bike that our friends at IMS put together. It's a Honda 250L Rally project, and they make some parts and pieces for this thing, but they also kind of had an idea in mind. This Honda 250 Rally is obviously the little brother of the Africa Twin, but it's certainly, while it's a really fun bike and it has a very cool look and styling, there's a lot of room to gain in performance if you are wanting to take one of these and really get more aggressive with it. Great little commuter bike, great fun little starter bike, but for those people who want something lighter than an Africa Twin, but something that performs a little better than the standard 250 Rally, this is a great project for you to check out and sort of take some ideas away from. So their big points were obviously, let's improve the performance, let's try to reduce the weight, and let's put some functional parts and pieces on here. And so we'll kind of go over some of those. Starting with the suspension, Precision Concepts went through this, and this suspension is a very basic standard suspension design. Because this is a global bike, they don't want to get too complicated with it. They got to keep it very simple. So there is no adjusters on here for compression or rebound or damping. So really all you can do is go in, change your oil type, change your oil levels, and change your spring rates. And so they've done that. They've gone in, put a better oil, they added some oil, stiffer spring rates. So it should allow us to be a little more aggressive on the off-road portions of our ride, while still keeping a nice plush ride on the road. So I'm anxious to see how that thing feels front and rear. Obviously from there you're looking at tires. The standard tires, not super off-road friendly. So we went to Moto's tires, which is if you're riding in the dirt at all, these are great. Definitely gives you more of an off-road feel. Still, they'll buzz right down the road, but when you get off-road, you don't feel like you're losing out everywhere. Tubeless, they're tubeless, which is great if you're riding off-road again. You don't want to deal with flat tires. And so that's a really cool wheel package with the tires. We're anxious to check those out. Obviously, the parts that IMS makes, their kind of go-to pieces are the tank, and they make oversized tanks for all kinds of models. And they make foot pegs and shifters. And so they've gone with their rally peg here. They also make a motocross peg and an enduro peg, and it's basically just different lengths. So the rally peg gives us a nice wide platform. So if you're doing a lot of standing, you have just a really nice wide platform to work from. So it's a great peg. They've also, going back to these Moto's tires, these are the Tractionator Desert HT series. They make different models. That's what we're riding with today. For our soil type and the things that we do, this is a really good package for us. Another big upgrade to this is the seat. Obviously on these you can get on long rides and be sitting down a lot. We went with a Seat Concepts seat, and this is a really cool foam. It's just nice and plush, but you don't go through and hit the plastic or hit anything hard. As far as storage, we've got a Happy Trails rack in the back here, and these will mount to soft bags, hard bags, kind of anything you want. These are really the gold standard in the industry. So these things mount right up. They're solid. Not gonna bend or break these things. FMF contributed an exhaust system to this, and obviously that can be a big part of the weight savings on these bikes and also performance. FMF goes out of their way to make sure they're producing more horsepower in this, but also cutting that weight way back from what the stock unit is. Stock units are designed to be very durable and last a long time, but as such, they become very heavy. So in total, just to give you an idea of how much weight was taken off of this, almost 40 pounds reduced from this bike. And then by the time we added the parts and pieces back on, we're at about a 25-pound weight savings from standard, which is huge when you're talking horsepower to weight ratio and just the feeling of the bike on the track or on the trail and on the road. So it's a big savings there. We also added a Gpr Stabilizer, which, especially if you're going high speed down the road, these are great to have. You can adjust how much resistance it gives you. So if you're in tight trails, you can loosen it up, but when you start zipping down the road, it's nice to have that, just making you feel solid, like you're never gonna start shaking at all. So that's a really cool feature that the IMS guys put on. All right, continuing on here, so we've got the DNA air filter, which is another big performance booster for this. You know, these things were designed obviously by Honda to be very durable and reliable and sealed up well. And the DNA just lets it breathe a little bit better. And you've got an exhaust that helps it flow exhaust out, and this lets more air come in. So improved performance. And then we've got the EJK electronic jet kit. And this plugs in basically between your ECU and the bike, and just kind of improves the mapping. And this makes a significant horsepower change when you're talking overall power on these things. And it's very easy to install. So if you are looking for something to spice your bike up, that's a good way to do it. We've also got a whole bunch of Zeta hard parts on this thing. So everything from the hand guards, the sprocket, we've got radiator lines that you can't really see, they're under the fairing, but they're under there. The rear fender elimination kit, which is great. A lot of miscellaneous parts and pieces, the chain adjuster blocks, little anodized bits and pieces you'll see here and there, kind of all over this thing, frame guards. So Zeta makes a whole bunch of parts, and they're all over this thing. They look great. We've also got the double take Enduro mirrors, which are obviously a great feature when you're riding on the road, or being able to see your buddies behind you when you're riding in a group. And then these guys kind of topped it off with all Maxima fluids and oils. So everything from the oil in the engine to chain lube, everything else, they're running Maxima products, which are obviously an industry standard. We're excited to ride this thing. The guys at IMS have done a really good job putting it together, finding the parts and pieces that make it look cool and also make it work really well. So we're gonna go get some miles underneath this thing and let you know what we think. What a fun bike. We've been riding all around all morning, and you know, versus the stock Honda 250 Rally, this thing is night and day better. You feel the lighter weight, you feel the additional horsepower, the handling is better. Just all around a really, really cool bike, and a lot of big upgrades from the standard version. As far as this project goes, some of the things that really stuck with me are the tires. These Moto's tires are awesome. You know, a lot of times when you get the Dualsport tires, you get in the dirt and it's really sketchy. These things actually work great, and they'll still zip along right down the highway. So I was really impressed with those. The suspension for me, when I first started, just kind of bouncing on it, pushing on it, I thought, oh man, this is really like springy and no rebound dampening. And there's no adjustment for it. So like I said, you're kind of stuck with however it is. But once we got on the trail, it's pretty versatile. You know, it's great on the little tiny bumps, you know, washboard on fire roads, or just little chatter. But it was able to, you know, I could jump this thing and wasn't too bad. So I found it to be actually pretty nimble and pretty capable out on the trail. So you know, Precision Concepts did a great job getting the most out of this. You know, you don't have adjustment, but by adding stiffer springs and a little more oil, we got the action to be pretty great, to be honest with you. So the power, again, on this bike, it's more about fun. If you're the guy that really likes to just grab gears and pull wheelies in third and fourth gear, you're not going to get that on this motorcycle. It's not designed for that. But we did get improved horsepower with the changes we made, the mapping, and then also the FMF exhaust. And it's got a nice throaty sound to it now with that FMF muffler on there. So those guys did a good job of finding a little bit more power, but you know, realizing it's still a 250 and it is what it is. That said, I was really impressed with how well this bike will chug. If you're on a really tight trail, or if I was, you know, like we were out in some tall grass here and I'm not sure what's under it, so I'm chugging along real slow. And in first gear, I mean, it's barely moving, but it won't stall on you. So that's great in traffic if you're in the city, tight trails in the woods, anything like that. So, and then on top of that, the opposite end of the spectrum, you can be on the freeway doing 80, and this thing will buzz along at 80 all day long. So it's a nice wide range on the transmission, which I thought was really neat. You don't always get that. Seat was super comfortable. You know, I find myself standing a lot, and the IMS pegs are great for that. But when you do sit, that seat's super plush, Very, very comfortable. The IMS tanks, this is a 3.5 gallon tank. We were guessing you're getting about 50 miles of the gallon on, on this thing, depending on how you're riding it and where. But that gives you a really long range. So really stoked on this tank. If you're going out for a long ride, it's not like you got to pack a bunch of fuel with you. You can get a long ways on this. So the Pro Taper grips was something we didn't mention earlier. The pillow top grips, really, really comfortable and plush. If you're out on a long ride, that's important. That's one of your main contact points with the bike, and we really like those. But all the parts and pieces worked great. I think the thing has a really sharp look, and the performance of it is amazing. We didn't get to obviously test the light, but that whole front kit, the rally kit, I think looks great. Those lights are definitely bright LED, and I really had a ball on this thing. I mean, from jumping it to putting through the trails to bombing down roads, you can go out and do it all in this bike. So those guys did an awesome job. Thank you to IMS. If you're looking for pegs, an oversized tank for any kind of bike, or any of their other products, check them out. And thank you to all the companies involved, and thanks for tuning in to Upshift Online.